Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbelle, and with me, not with me as always, Robert Hagan's not here today.
Wow.
He is off coaching some junior high football. With me today is the sports editor and one of my 87 different bosses from all the different jobs I have, Mr. Donn Walden. Donn, how's it going?
It's going. It's like a dream, man. Just kind of doing what I can to keep local sports going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to say, without Robert, this is going to run smoothly and with a how to hitch. And I have already been locked out of this room once because the battery at the door died. The internet died about 20-30 minutes ago. So yeah, it has gone everything but smoothly. But we are here. We're going to have some fun. And Donn, I brought you on here because we're going to talk some local sports, those that live outside the area that always hang out and watch, and we're ready to talk about some NFL. We'll get to that at the bottom of the hour, but we'll start with high school sports first. In the second hour, we're going to have LCSC volleyball player Kenzie Cloward show, talk some Major League Baseball. Albert Pujols hitting number 700 earlier this week. Aaron Judge has been walked 73 times in the last week and a half. Still looking for home run number 61. And I'm going to get into a breakdown of the weirdest national anthem standoff of all time that led into 2 ejections. Also, the greatest moment in Seattle Mariner history, I think, is safe to say. Luckily, Robert is not here to talk about his Geelong Cats, but I will bring up their results in the grand final. We got picks and all that other stuff. But for right now, let's get into some high school football. Because Donn, that's kind of your forte right now. As you know, we're both part of that video cast. We still say Friday night, but it's really like we could go and have breakfast the moment we're done.
Right, we could go to Waffles and More.
Yeah,
yeah,
beat the rush.
Yeah, exactly,
mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because we normally don't get done until about 3 a.m.
Yeah. So if you ever watched that video clip on the Lewiston Tribune or on the Twitter pages or anything, that is why we look so damn tired. It's because it's very late and it's been a very long night for sure. And you also have your podcast with Trevin that you guys put up on Sundays.
Yep, absolutely. That is, oh man, I'm not great. Now you put me on the spot.
Yeah,
I can't even remember the name of it now.
That's what I'm here for. Is the hard hitting questions.
Yeah,
there are 2 really hard questions to ask. Just Donn, what's your podcast name, and ask a volleyball coach their record. Those are the 2 hardest questions I've learned in sports media to ask anybody.
Yeah, no kidding.
And Denny Grubb already in the chat talking about the Orioles erasing a 5-run deficit. And Judge who, whatever. He's Mr. Walk and Mr. Run right now.
I don't think the Orioles have a shot to get to the wild card. I'm going to go with my stone cold hot quote unquote take there.
We will.
I'm sure I'm going to get some response from Denny on that.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. But let's get into the high school football. And let's talk about basically what was the game of the week. Trevin was over there watching. It was a rematch of possibly one of the better games we had all of last year.
Yeah. Between
the Lewiston Bengals and Sandpoint. And it did not disappoint over here at Bengal Field. Lewiston survives in overtime 40-38. What has been your takeaway the last couple of days?
I guess it kind of reaffirms the fact that I feel like their offense is even more dynamic than what I really thought they would be. Going into the season, they weren't really sure, who their quarterback was going to be. They weren't really sure who the running backs were going to be because, they lost Jason McArcher. They lost Cruz Hepburn. But I think they've really solidified themselves, with Drew Hottinger under center, Jackson Lathan, James White,
mm-hmm.
and their offensive line. I think their offensive line, they don't get a whole lot of credit. For Matt Pincary's ground and pound type of attack, or as he likes to say, physical.
Yes.
We like to be physical.
Mm-hmm.
How many times can we be physical in a game? Can we out physical the defense? So, they're continuing to prove, that they're going to be one of the really good teams in Class 5A coming down the stretch here, I think.
Yeah, with most of these teams, especially in high school sports, there's so much turnover that you're not exactly sure what you're going to get. Obviously, we know the coaches and we kind of know their systems. And as you said, Pancari loves to run the ball, and that's what we saw in the first couple games.
Does he really love to run the ball?
I think so, just a little bit.
All right, we need to ask Trevin. Can we get Trevin on?
Maybe next week. Maybe I'm going to talk Trevin into this one next week. But we saw that in the first couple weeks, especially against Clarkston, where they ran well over 300 yards in that contest. And you're like, all right, they can run the ball. They have a very all of the assistant coaches I talked to when I went and did their first practice was how big their offensive line was. It might have been the biggest offensive line they've had in 15, 20 years. And that's all they could talk about. And that's what we saw. Is like, all right, but now can they throw the ball? We've seen that against Pendleton. We're seeing that against Sandpoint. So now as you get into league play here in a couple weeks, I mean, they get Moscow this week, but getting into the Lake Cities and Coeur d'Alene's, I'm with you. I think Lewiston might be the most well-rounded team in an Empire 5A league.
Well, and, last year they were 4-1, but it was kind of, we don't know what we have until we see them in league. I kind of feel like we're sort of in the same scenario this year a little bit, but I feel, they're more diverse than they were last year for some reason. And I haven't quite pinpointed it yet. I know Drew's really good, under center. Can I compare him to Jace? No. Not yet. I know their running backs are really good. Are they as comparable as Cruz? No. But they're still really good. I think their offensive line is better. That's where I go back to. It's their offensive line. They put in the work in the weight room, during the offseason, during the summer. And I just feel like this is I think at 5 games this year, they're a better team than they were at 5 games last year.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm with you where it comes down to the offensive line, and it's at any level of football. I mean, yes, we all focus on those players that can give you fantasy football points in the NFL, but you talk to any football player, and they say it starts and ends with the offensive and defensive lines, and that goes right here with high school as well. I want to move over to another game that went into overtime. How about 4 overtimes for St. John Endicott Lacrosse? I still love that Max Preps has like 5 other schools attached to that name, and we just refuse to put them in. But that's enough names for them. Against Garfield Palouse, 54-48 for St. John Endicott in 4 overtimes. But the key story there is Garpal lost to the same team earlier this year, 55-0. And we're that close from getting that first win. It was like
4 weeks ago, I think, when the season started. This is a team that, was basically built from the ground up. They've been dormant for 4 years. They had, basically no previous varsity experience. Garrett Parrish had to get all of his kids basically from the middle school level. And to see the transformation, from where they were at week 1 to week 4, stunning. It's really a great story, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me a little bit of Troy's baseball team where they rebuilt that program from the ground up. Honestly, I think Garpal is doing a little bit faster on the football side, but it's a great story. Hopefully they'll get that first win under their belt here shortly. Really, really close last week. I want to go back to, it's a Thursday night game between Logos and Lapwai. And just the stats I was getting, because the coach from Logos was sending me stats the week before because his connection wasn't well. So he went in and texted me. So I'm at a different job, and all of a sudden I'm getting text messages from the Logos coach, and it just blows my mind what I'm reading from Jack Driscoll, who just dominates the game. Every offensive yard he was a part of. He had 9 total touchdowns in the game. And on defense, he only had 3 interceptions on defense.
I'm disappointed. He only had 3 interceptions. Why didn't he have 5? Why didn't he have 6?
Right.
Did he not get like 3 sacks? But I believe he did serve the popcorn at Lapwai on Thursday night.
Well, somebody had to do it.
Well, yeah.
He seemed like he wasn't doing much on the field.
He was doing traffic cop as well.
I'm still disappointed that our Prep Athlete of the Week poll was not just Jack Driscoll against himself. Like, I understand we have to give the names out there. No, it's just Jack Driscoll, the thrower, Jack Driscoll, the runner, Jack Driscoll, the defensive player, and then you could put the popcorn vendor and I'm sure
that'd have been
I'm
good for
sure
a
the
goof.
student as well is doing just fine.
Well,
but,
yeah, I guarantee you he probably is. And I could have did that for a goof, but pretty much the readership would have like hung me.
I mean, there were some
if that's the
good
case.
performances out there, but if there was ever a slam dunk for Prep Athlete of the Week,
Don't ever say slam dunk
As
when it
far
comes to
as-
this poll.
as far as accomplishments go, not votership. I've seen what the voters do. I've seen what happens with the votes.
And that's not a knock on our readers
we
or
want the
anything like
votes.
that. We just, when you've done it long enough, you kind of know where things are going to head.
Yeah, and that's with any popular poll.
Right.
It's like, hey, come vote for me. Were you the best? No, but you know me,
Right.
so vote for me.
Right. Exactly.
See
And
it
that's
all the
kind of
time.
how it goes on Facebook
yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
That's how it pretty much goes. But yeah, Jack Driscoll, what an amazing game. I mean, it was like Madden-esque. NFL 94 on your Sega Genesis. Ooh, Sega Genesis.
It's old. I have a couple of those at home.
Yeah, there you go. Nintendo.
A couple of those too. Let's get to the White Pine League. Well, we already were, but let's focus more on the White Pine League and talk about the top of the White Pine League. We had a big matchup last week between Kamei, Clearwater Valley. Kamei comes away with a win, and that really sets up this week's matchup with them and Prairie, as Prairie was able to take care of Genesee 50-22. What do you take from those two wins?
Kamei is just, we talk about offensive lines with Lewiston, and I kind of feel the same thing with Kamei. They're built on a ground and pound, kind of philosophy. 358 rushing yards. For an 8-man team, I feel like that's pretty good. Colton O'Kane, 20 carries for 128 yards. He continues to be one of their shining stars. Connor Weddle, in a backup role, 11 carries for 94 yards. Connor Weddle. I mean, Colton Sams, 16 carries for 93 yards. Oh, yeah, by the way, he had 11 tackles. Kind of going back to your Jack Driscoll reference.
Right.
Does it all on offense and defense. This is a really big game coming up Friday. I mean, it's probably the biggest game of the year in our readership area so far. I found out today that Prairie's going to be without their best player, and maybe even, according to Travis Mader, the AD over at Prairie, maybe the best player in the league in Trenton Lawrence, because he had an appendectomy done last Friday. And this is not the first time that this has happened to Prairie. In fact, I want to say last year, Brody Hasselstrom had the same scenario come up. So this is 2 years in a row where Prairie's going into a big game and they're not going to have their best player. I mean, so the fans in Cottonwood have to be a little concerned. Obviously they didn't get off to the start that they wanted to, but they've been slowly building and building and building, getting back to the Prairie of old. And now they have this happen. I mean, I don't know, but I'll be interested to hear what your pick is for this game.
Yeah, I'm still trying to debate myself what my pick is going to be, as you broke that news to me about 5 minutes before we got going.
Breaking news. Dun, 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 dun.
Those predictions will be in the second hour, and I'll give you all of Robert's as well, though I'm tempted on tinkering some of his. Though I do have to laugh, and he has fixed it, and he is going through some busy times as well. But I just want to out him now, because we will give the actual pick when it happens. But in the Northern Colorado Idaho matchup, he put Northern Idaho. So do I just leave? I mean, he fixed it, but at that point, do I just leave it and give him half credit? Do I give him half credit, or does he just get no credit
because
that team
no
doesn't
credit
exist? No,
because he can't get the name right.
He fixed it and picked it different. So if Idaho wins, it's totally cool. If Northern Colorado wins, then I have an issue because he changed his pick. But yeah, we'll get to those picks when we get down there. I want to talk about some of these shutouts that happen. You guys talked about on the video broadcast on Saturday morning about just the crazy offenses that have been going on. 14 games were played last Friday. The average score in those games was over 70 points. Go look at the NFL right now, and I think the average score in those games this weekend were like 28 points. Like, there's a lot of great defense in the NFL right now. But there were 4 teams that went out there and completely shut down their opponent. And for 3 of them, their offense made up for it no problem. Pomeroy with an 86-0 win. We are worried that this Friday they're going to try to top that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Kendrick, 80-0 against Lewis County.
They couldn't top their 104 from the week before. Though.
They could not. I still feel bad for Lewis County losing, their Ty Hambley before with was an ACL, right? Is that what we were hearing?
Yeah.
So I feel really bad for them going into their biggest game of the year, and losing their top player. Kellogg beating Orfino 80-0. Orfino's just not having a great year right now. And Clarkston, who has shown signs of being a really good team, just could get nothing going against West Valley.
And I think toward the end of this year, you're going to see Clarkston, battling for the Class 2A GSL title.
Mm-hmm. Just that Friday was just one of those games where just nothing goes right for you. It's exactly what Bryson Bai told Cody on the phone. Just nothing went right in the game. It's one where you throw away the tape. Don't worry about it. It's not the team that we have seen from the Bantams earlier this year.
Obviously, you want to go back 2 weeks ago to Kendrick, Genesee, and that's really where you want to burn the tape.
Yes.
It never even existed. Mm-hmm. That game never even existed. And so, Genesee, the way they came back, they actually scored the first 16 points of the game against Prairie. Looked really good doing it. Now, Prairie became Prairie and did what they do. But, to bounce back like they did, you got to give credit to Justin Podrabski and, their coaching staff and those kids.
Yeah.
For coming back off of what could have just been a program decimating loss. Mm-hmm. But going to, this past week with all these shutout games, I mean, one stat that really impressed me was Pomeroy's defense.
Yes.
I mean, explain to me how a team can be held to minus 49 yards of total offense.
A buddy of mine, he doesn't listen to the show, but his son.
Why not?
Because Pomeroy doesn't have the internet.
Really?
Or at least Richie does not have the internet.
Okay.
I don't want to make fun of all of Pomeroy. I'll make fun of Richie for not having the internet. His son now, who played for Pomeroy, now is a student here at LC. So he still follows the team. His younger son is in junior high right now, so he's been watching those games. He told me he left at halftime because that game was really, really tough to watch. Right. Yakima Tribal, give them full credit for never giving up. With the negative 49 offensive yards that they had, they never punted the ball once. They went for it on 4th down. They kept pushing. And I wish I would have gotten the full totals. Obviously, Sidney Bales, we got his stats of 117 total yards for him. I want to see the total yards for Pomeroy because according to Richie, Pomeroy was getting the ball inside the red zone every drive. After it was 3 and out, you just get push back, 3 and out, or 4 and out, I guess.
Right.
And then they have to go 12 yards for a touchdown.
And I think we surmised, just total guess, they probably had about 200 yards of total offense, maybe even less than that. Because if you're getting the ball at the 20-yard line or 15-yard line or 5-yard line, you're not racking up a whole lot of yards, but you're keeping the scoreboard operator busy, that's for sure.
And Denny just put a ridiculous stat. I'll just hold it out on the screen for a little bit for anybody that's watching on the Facebook or YouTube pages. But the high school football record is 52 consecutive shutouts. We got a long ways to go for anybody to reach that.
Don't think Kendrick's going to get there.
I don't think so either. But they are on quite the run.
But they are on an amazing run. That dynamite segue there, Denny. Much appreciated. So Kendrick is on a pretty impressive run of 236 unanswered points.
It's
insane. I mean, how does that happen? How?
We joke about at the Tribune office about Kendrick football being a lot like Lapway basketball, where they could compete against teams a lot higher up. I honestly think this Kendrick football team is more dominant than we see from the Lapway basketball team. Lapway basketball can go out and beat anybody, but they're not just decimating their opponents right now. And just what Kendrick is doing with Ty Kep, who is really only playing a quarter and a half, has been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. That team is built really, really well.
No question about it. I mean, I guess the good thing for us this week is the White Pine League Division II has an entire bye.
And Kendrick.
So we don't have to deal with
Kendrick still hasn't given up a point.
Right. They're not going to give up a point for, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. It's 4 weeks. It would be 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they get Timberline the following week,
Mm-hmm.
which another smooth transition there for us. Ryland West,
Mm-hmm.
probably the most underrated player in that league. This past week against Derry, he goes for 24 attempts, 224 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
That's not a definition of a bell cow. I don't know what it is.
Right. He is probably the most underrated player in that league, because you can name the entire Kendrick team, I suppose.
Right. All right, just stat wise, but no, Ryler West is like rushes per game has to be leading. I think almost all schools out there, no matter what division, you don't see
in our
one
area,
person getting that many carries around here for sure.
No, and his per yard average is got to be 7-8 yards a game. An attempt. So,
and we'll see. It'll be a very good test in a couple weeks for him against Kendrick. Hoping for good bounce backs from Moscow and Asotin. They're still trying to get their feet underneath them this year, especially Moscow right now under the new head coach. Just not getting it going just yet.
But and the thing is it doesn't get any easier.
No. Lewiston this week.
They got Lewiston this week, and then they've got to face a Sandpoint team who's going to, I'm going to guess, going to be pretty angry.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a Lakeland team who's surprisingly really good. They're number 5 in this week's media poll. So, it just you hate to see it, but it's kind of hard times right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to some college football, and let's start local, and let's start with the positive. The Idaho Vandals winning again. So what was the stat that Trevin had in his story yesterday? It's the first time since 2017 that Idaho has won back-to-back games, or 2018?
I think it was 19.
19?
Yeah.
Maybe it was 17 if they win back-to-back conference games or something is what I read.
Yeah.
But yeah, back-to-back wins for the Vandals, really starting to get things going, and that's right after 2 very good performances against WSU and Indiana.
Yep.
2 higher level squads, but kind of just dominated Northern Arizona, winning that one 27-10.
Yeah, they're looking really good. I mean, for an Idaho team, they're looking really good. Giovanni McCoy is really efficient. He went 18 of 20 in this game. He had strings of 7 and 9 consecutive passes without, an incompletion. The running game is starting to get it together. And again, we talked about offensive line. We're giving the offensive line a bunch of love tonight.
Right.
But it's well deserved. Their offensive line was young to start the season, but now they're kind of coming together a little bit. And, I just feel like they're in a good place. They're in a really good place right now to kind of keep this going. Now, it'll be really interesting to see what happens, after we get out of this game coming up against Northern Colorado. They have the bye. Then they got to go to Missoula. And that's going to be the big test for them. Is trying to go up against a Montana team who's notoriously been really good, run the ball, have a great defense. We'll just see.
That's good.
And we don't want to push over Northern Colorado.
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm. But it's good to have a bye week in between these 2 games, especially before Montana. So you're not overlooking a Northern Colorado team, which you should not anyways. But so you're like, all right, get this game done, get the bye, get ready for the big Montana game. So schedule-wise, it works out really well.
Schedule makers did them a favor.
Then we get to Washington State, who outplayed Oregon for about 3.5 quarters in that one.
I'd say about a good 55 minutes, maybe.
And then 3 minutes happened, and it all went downhill.
Yeah.
Is it a coug? Is it a couging it? To me, it's a key couging. I think this is a key definition of a couging.
No. I mean, it's really weird because I was in the office on Sunday and I read the column that Matt Calkins from the Seattle Times put out. And he basically said it without saying it.
Mm-hmm.
He said they see ... it. Yeah, I mean, I
know a lot of people are saying that it's not fair to call it this because they've had worse cougings throughout their history, and I won't deny that. But I to me, the definition of couging is having a win in hand and then not. And it just in a blink. And for this game against Oregon,
if you want to live up to the definition,
against Oregon, they had a 2-possession lead. 3 minutes later, they were down by 2 possessions. It went from we have this in hand to there's zero chance we're winning this game in a 3-minute span. And working at the casino that day, well, we had our big tournament going on, so there's a lot of people there, and just everybody at the same time just going. Especially on the pick six, that just kind of just sealed the loss at that point. It was
you
just
just feel the air go out of the building.
And they walk Judge again. It's 4 walks. Just pitch to the man.
He's not going to get 61.
Denny agrees. They cooked it. I will not start getting worried about Judge not getting to 61 until they get to Texas. They got one more game after tonight against Toronto. 3-game set against Baltimore at Yankee Stadium. It's not against, I'm not saying, he'll crush Baltimore, but again at Yankee Stadium, and that just atmosphere is insane. Then you get to that last series, and then it starts ramping up, especially because it's a 4-game set in a 3-day window, and most likely they will have things locked up. So he's definitely not playing all 4 of those games.
Right. So
that's where I'm starting to worry. Yeah, Denny is jealous of Roger Maris's son getting some good seats. So is his mom. His mom is sitting right next there to him. They should. You have to. If you watch any broadcast right now, it's find the Maris family, find the Judge family, show them 50 times to see their disappointed look when he walks again, and just it's sad.
If you're a non-Yankees fan, though, you love it. You just gotta love it.
I don't know. I mean, really. I mean, obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, so
but if you're a baseball fan,
that way. If you're a baseball fan, you want to
you kind of want to see
history.
Stuff. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're getting a little off topic, and that's totally fine because it's a fun discussion. I saw something the other day where people were upset that ESPN is breaking into other sports to show the Judge at bats, and they're like, "Well, they did not do that with Albert Pujols." And my argument to that was Albert Pujols only had 1 at bat where he was going for 700.
Right.
He hit 699, and then the very next inning, hit number 700. So ESPN couldn't. They were not prepared to cut into other games because he was still 2 away.
And that's their fault. They should have been more prepared.
Well, I don't know if they jumped in for his 700, but even if they did, it was for one time. And it happened really quickly. Like, literally, we were at the Tribune going, "Oh, that's cool. He hit 699.
2 seconds later,
he hit 700. All right. Whatever. All right, let's get back to the college football talk. Obviously, WSU couged it. But I still think they have they've taken a good couple steps forward from what we have seen from WSU. They are competitive. And I think that showed they either did not move or even went up slightly in the rankings this week.
I was really surprised by that. In the AP poll, they were at number 29, which I would have thought, especially after that kind of sort of collapse, they wouldn't get any kind of recognition whatsoever. They sure did. They were about where I thought they would be in the coaches poll at number 40.
They were who you thought you were?
Yeah. All right. I've heard that somewhere before.
Get to some. Speaking of the close calls that Oregon had, some close calls in that top 10. Some really good games. There's Clemson, the number 5 seed. Nearly lost to Wake Forest, who's kind of been surprising this year. They ended up winning at 51-45 in double overtime. Michigan was only able to beat Maryland by 7 points. Michigan always has that game. This is what Georgia was for years.
Yeah.
Where Georgia would look like a national champion and then just lose to some random that they shouldn't have even been close to.
Right.
Georgia has fixed that issue. Michigan kind of has that problem right now. The not surprising one, if you listen,
a whole lot of good.
Right? The one that, if you listen to a lot of the experts going in, was not that surprising was USC only beating Oregon State by 3, 17-14. A lot of the people I was listening to that a couple days going in were picking Oregon State to win that game.
Right. it was a bit surprising to me that it was as close as it was, but Oregon State's got a really good program that's on the rise, kind of like Wazoo. They're kind of on the rise a little bit, so, I mean, what do I know? I'm just a lowly sports writer.
Right. And then finally, number 8, Kentucky. No, this is still football season. We're not talking college basketball right now. But they defeated Northern Illinois 31-23. Pretty close for them. Very cool that the Wildcats are up there in the top 10. We did get some upsets, though. Number 6, Oklahoma falling to Kansas State 41-34. That one was shocking. Texas A&M and Arkansas had a really good game. Texas A&M has bounced back after, what was it? It was Appalachian State that beat them?
Yeah.
Yep. And they've bounced back since then. They beat Arkansas 23-21. But Middle Tennessee State crushing Eric Watkins, Miami Hurricanes 45-31. I don't know if Eric is hanging around or not. I'll find out here in a second if I see a lot of 4-letter words in the comments. Other games
Wonder
that went
what he thinks about Mario Cristobal.
He does have a podcast I haven't been able to listen to lately, and I'm sure there's been 4-letter words going that direction for sure, because that podcast is a lot more adult. They go into some adult themes that I'm not comfortable with.
TVMA, basically.
Yeah. Montana State beats Eastern Washington 38-35. It's the only time I bring up that stupid red field is when they lose. Take that, Paul. Texas Tech used a field goal in overtime, defeat number 22 Texas 37-34. And a good one between number 11 Tennessee and number 20 Florida, and the Vols staying defeated 38-33. Which of those games really stood out to you this week?
Probably Texas Tech beating Texas. And the thing is, I feel like Texas is always overrated and overhyped. And they have been, I think, since the Vince Young years. Well, since after the Vince Young years. They haven't, they're always, in the AP top 25 to start the season. And then somehow, some way, they find their way to coog it.
Yeah, for sure. Texas and Notre Dame are the same way. They always get overranked in the preseason poll.
Yep.
And then everyone's like, oh, they got upset. It's like, no, they were just overrated.
They're just not good.
No.
It's not very good.
Before I let you get back to work and see how much work you can get done before I have to get to work, I want to bring up some NFL with you.
Oh, boy.
We won't talk about what my Jets did to your Browns in the last couple minutes where they brownied it?
No.
Cleveland it. Took a brownie. I think that's a good one. That's a good one, I think.
That's a good one.
We won't talk about that, but Cleveland does bounce back.
They took an elf in the middle of the field.
They did. Joe Flacco looked good standing on that elf. It's the only time he's looked good in a Jets uniform.
I'm trying real hard
to not say bad word. I get it. Sometimes it's difficult. Talking about my Jets, I think it gets really rough sometimes. But yeah, beat Pittsburgh on Thursday night. Continues my trend of home team on Thursday night.
Did anybody even see the game, though?
I watched more of the Thursday night game than I did the Sunday night or Monday night game. None of them were good. The primetime slate took a hit, I think, as far as quality of football goes.
So far this year. It's been awful.
Not this bad.
I guess the NFL is, and Roger Goodell is, just looking at the checkbook and be like,
Denny making fun of Raiders fans, the only 0-3 team left. It's not quite good for them.
No, sorry. The worst game of the weekend, though, I have to say, was probably the Sunday night game.
Sunday night game was so bad. So bad.
What?
That set back football 50 years. Denver beating San Francisco 11-10.
Leather helmet. Leather
that's
helmet
probably
days.
true too. It's just you could have went and taken a nap, came back and missed nothing in that game.
Wait a minute. Didn't you say you actually took a nap?
No, I'd watched a video of a comedian on YouTube making that joke.
Okay.
Tom Grossi, if anybody does not watch him, go watch him. He's a Packers fan and is mostly Packer oriented, but he does a lot of hilarious content with other NFL teams. It's very good stuff. Always makes me laugh. But yeah, he made that joke of, a Denver fan taking a nap and then getting up and vacuuming and doing all this stuff and then sitting down and going, it's the same score. And that's kind of what it was. I bowl during Sunday Night Football and looked up at one point and went, I've missed nothing. The only key play that really happened in that entire game was Jimmy Garoppolo throwing a pick six, but getting lucky because he stepped out of bounds first. So he got a safety instead of a pick six. So it worked out in his favor a little bit, but they still lose 11-10. There's nothing to take away from that game. I don't know if Robert Taylor is listening, but he posted on his Facebook right after this that the Denver Broncos are the most 0-3, 2-1 team he's ever seen. I remember the Chicago Bears a couple years ago starting out red hot, and you go, yeah, I don't believe any of this. And then they lose the next 7. Denver's defense, I think, is better than people are giving it credit for because they're all focused on Russell Wilson, but that offense is bad. I mean, they have a lot of injuries right now in Denver, but that offense is rough to watch.
I think I could get you, me, Trevin, Cody, Matt Bainey, Denny Grubb, Bert Sahlberg, and pick your other 3 guys, and we could probably run a better offense right now than what Denver's running.
I don't know about that.
No, I do.
But it's bad in Denver, that's
awful.
for sure.
It is stinky.
Mm-hmm. Some of the bigger games that happened over the weekend. How about the Miami Dolphins? One of 2 undefeated teams left.
The Miami Dolphins undefeated.
So when they lose, do the Miami Dolphins pop champagne that the Miami Dolphins lost?
Right.
Is that what we're leading to?
Yep.
Even though I think that they lose on Thursday, but we'll get to that in a minute. All I remember from this game is the butt punt. I wanted them to lose so bad so we could erase the butt fumble and move on to the butt punt, but they held on. They got the win. Even though Buffalo kind of dominated that game, they just stormed down the field and just could get nothing done. Miami just held on, and in the end, that's all that matters is you get the victory.
Mark Sanchez actually said on Twitter that Miami was Beauregarding his position.
Right. You got to respect Mark Sanchez. Like, he's just owned up to it.
Right.
And went, bring it. I'll make fun of myself. You make fun of me. It is what it is. Another surprising result is the Indianapolis Colts defeating Kansas City 20-17. This is more like the Indianapolis Colts I was expecting coming into the year. I did pick the Colts to lose in the AFC Championship game and regretted it 2 weeks in. But their defense finally shows up. Kansas City, again, every team's going to go like this. I don't think that the Chiefs were exposed. I always love the people that, the Colts made the blueprint on how to beat Kansas City. No, they didn't. It just things didn't go Kansas City's way.
Don't you love overreaction like that?
Yeah, that's why I like that we're on Tuesday. So we have another day to just relax and not worry about it and just come back on to the show and say the Jets still stink.
Well, I mean, the Browns still stink. They're awful.
Yeah, 2-1. Could be 3-0.
Yeah, but, who's their quarterback?
Haley, I agree with Haley. Butt punt is still a thing. I'm making it a thing because one of my good friends
is the thing.
It was the thing from this weekend of NFL, which was not that great.
No.
It was. We were spoiled the first 2 weeks with especially that 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. time slot where like 5 games were coming down to the wire. So many crazy things. This week it was maybe the Bills will come back, maybe the Chiefs will come back, but in the end it was a standard week, I think.
Right. I even put out on Twitter, I think, after the first week that, all of football was on crack.
Mm-hmm.
Because of just the crazy endings that we had, not only in high school, not only in college, but in pros.
Yep.
I mean, we're back to normal now.
Yes. I got this pick wrong, but it wasn't a surprising result. It was more of a surprising score between Green Bay and Tampa Bay, where the Packers beat the Buccaneers, but it was only 14-12. It's just kind of shows you that offense right now in Green Bay still has not found their rhythm. Tom Brady was missing every weapon imaginable on that team. There's the whole deal of Rodgers and Brady. This could be the last time. No, they're going to see each other in January, and Tom Brady's not retiring until he's 50. So it's just whether Aaron Rodgers finally gets offered the Jeopardy job or not, whether he goes away.
No,
so
not going to happen.
And we will see that again. I guess probably the most surprising result, though, the Jacksonville Jaguars not only beating the Chargers, who are very banged up right now, crushing the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think the biggest overreaction was people in their power rankings putting Jacksonville in their top 10. I'm not there yet.
No.
They have been good. And especially the last 2 weeks have really shown that they have taken that next step. And when you look at the AFC South right now, all of a sudden they look like they could win that division.
Right.
But it's like the AL Central right now. You could win that division, but are you a top 5 team in the major leagues, Mr. Cleveland Guardian fan? No, you're not.
Yes, if you're a Guardians fan. No, if you're a Jaguars fan. Sorry, Trevin.
That'll be a fun conversation here in about an hour. And I would be remiss.
But that was that really good win. Yes. Absolutely a great win for them.
Mm-hmm.
They needed something like that moving forward. After the last 2-3 years of turmoil they went through.
I think this is just proving that Urban Meyer was the problem over there in Jacksonville. And I would be remiss, but just state that Atlanta beat Seattle. That's it. That's the headline. Seattle loses again.
That's the tweet.
All the Seahawks fans that told me throughout this summer, Seahawks are winning 10 games. No. It's just not happening.
Who?
Seahawks fans. Lots of Seahawks fans.
Who?
I don't think any of them that you know, but some Seahawks fans this summer were like, oh yeah, 10-7. We're going to be better this year without Russell Wilson. They were kind of right. Russell Wilson is not as great as people were giving him out to be.
Smith has actually looked halfway decent.
It's not been the quarterback position by any means.
No.
The team's a mess.
Here, football 101, you got to tackle.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
They can't play defense.
And that offensive line is still not good. Some injury notes going out of week 3. Mac Jones is going to miss a couple of weeks with the severe high ankle sprain. Happened on the last offensive play in that game with Baltimore, so that's tough to see. Almost the exact same deal with Sterling Shepard in the Monday Night Football game. Final minute of that game, he suffers a serious knee injury. Last I heard, it's not official, but he could be missing the entire season for the Giants. They overperformed the first 2 weeks to start 2-0. I don't think they're playoff contenders, but this definitely hurts those chances.
Yep.
And then scary situations for Myles Garrett, where he was involved in a one-car accident. I have not heard full details. I don't know if they've released full details. They just don't believe drugs or alcohol was involved. Right. It was during the afternoon, so it wasn't some late night partying.
In the middle of the day, during rush hour in a suburb.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he and a female passenger both were wearing their seatbelts during this one car crash, had a rollover in it. Garrett suffered an injury to his shoulder and his biceps in it. Hopefully a speedy recovery for him and the female that was with him, but just that's a scary situation.
Yeah, no kidding.
Tampa moving to the Miami facility for the Hurricane. We're seeing a lot of college football games right now moving.
Yeah.
We talk about, the smoke stuff that we get for a week or two moving high school games or the referee shortages. I can't imagine being a high school newspaper, a newspaper that covers high school sports in the Florida area this week.
They are used to it. Let me tell you, I've got a bunch of friends who are down there. They're used to it. They're moving games to Monday.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving games to Tuesday. They're just doing it all over the place just to get the schedule in.
Yep.
They're used to this kind of weather. I mean, every day when I worked in Daytona, every day, during the afternoon, it was like death, taxes, and your afternoon thunderstorm. They're used to it down there. They're used to hurricanes now. One of this magnitude where they don't know where it's going.
Right.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're not used to that. But they're used to having the inclement weather down there. But yeah, I mean, if you're a high school football writer, the changes are so dizzying, it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, they just pull out that folder. All right.
Yeah.
So what do we got moving on?
What do we got?
Here?
What can we scratch? Where do we put it? What do I cover? Oh crap! I am not covering anything. Uh-oh.
And then the fun one for me, this is what I think a lot of football fans have been calling for a long time, but the Pro Bowl's gone.
Thank God.
It's over.
Thank
There's
God.
no more Pro Bowl. And
what a glorified scrimmage.
Yeah, so that's what they're making it, is a glorified scrimmage. They're making it a
Right.
flag football game, which is basically what it was before. But now we can have a little bit more fun with it.
Right.
You can get a lot more goofy where it doesn't look like an NFL game. It just looks like a bunch of guys going out there having a good time. I love that the skills competition is spreading out over a couple of days. I do like in the press release that they put that they're going to be competing in football and non-football challenges. I mean, they do that already because they do dodgeball during the skills competition, but I just want them to expand it more. I want them to bring back that tic-tac kick or tic-tac-toe field goal kicker competition they did on the first skills competition when they brought that back a couple years ago. Check that out. That was a really cool. I think Justin Tucker was part of it. And you're not kicking it through the goalpost, but there's different sections in the goalpost that you're trying to win tic-tac-toe in. There's just, I want them to get really creative and just off the wall with it. Yes, do we want to see quarterbacks compete and who can throw it the fastest or be the most accurate? Sure. But I want to see who can throw one of those Nerf footballs the farthest. Just get silly with it.
It's about time. I mean, that's the bottom line. Of the 4 major sports that hold all-star games, it was by far the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, I mean, a lot of those players were sitting out because they didn't want to get injured. They didn't want to risk, permanent injury in a glorified scrimmage, in essence. So, good for the NFL.
Though, to be fair, and it was in the ESPN story that I had read about this, was way back when, like in the 90s, there was a rookie running back for the Patriots who played in a beach flag football game during that Pro Bowl weekend. Got injured and not only missed the next season, he missed 2 seasons. Right. That he had injured himself so bad. So there can still be injuries in flag football. Right. Flag football can still be dangerous. But before I let you go, Thursday night football is just a couple of days away, and we always make a prediction here because it is the closest game. We're not going to do all the games. You can check that out on the R&R Sports Report. I believe Robert puts those up Thursday morning. But some Miami Dolphins undefeated at the Cincinnati Bengals. Put you on the spot. Who do you got?
I don't have the Bengals. I can tell you that. And I'm going to tell you why. Their offensive line is still, they reworked that offensive line, but it's still terrible. How Joe Burrow is still standing upright, I don't know. I kind of like where Miami's going here. Oh, by the way, shout out to former Wazoo receiver River Craycraft, who was on the practice squad, coming into this week. He caught his first touchdown last week. He was on the practice squad, got promoted up, caught another touchdown this week. He's got 2 catches so far this season, 2 touchdowns.
It's a good
Get him on your fantasy team.
It's a good percentage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, I'm going the opposite. Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, their offensive line looked horrible in the first 2 weeks. Yes, they were playing the Jets last week, but the offensive line held better. Jets were having problems getting to them, and the Jets do have a pretty good front 7. So I think they're starting to figure it out. Miami's coming off the high of beating Buffalo on Sunday in 100-degree temperature. With the butt punt. Part of their mind is obviously back at home because they're all going to be around, living around where the hurricane's going to hit. And I've always said on this show, home team on Thursday night. If it's close, you take the home team. So that's why I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals.
So are you saying that the fix is in?
No, I just think the Cincinnati Bengals will win this game. Also, the thing that we are starting this year is we are eliminating one team each week from playoff contention. After the 18 weeks are done, 18 teams will not make the playoffs, and we're hoping that eliminating one per week will have those 18 teams. My first 2 weeks, I took out the Patriots and the Panthers. Robert took out the Texans and the Falcons. This week, Robert joins me in eliminating the New England Patriots, and I am eliminating the Washington Commanders. I'm not going to make you pick 3, but just one team out there that you just watch Titans right now. So there you go. You just no chance of them bouncing back.
No.
Over the Raiders, even though they beat the Raiders?
Yeah.
There you go. Did put you
Although
on
the
the
Raiders
spot.
are a good bet.
They were almost my pick, but I hadn't taken the Commanders out, so I'll wait a week on the Raiders.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's
that they're
probably
going to
a good
make
call.
the playoffs.
I don't
but
think they are. Not at 0-3.
Commanders just look so bad right now.
Not at 0-3. And they play in a great new stadium too. And there's those fans are just.
All right, Don. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for hanging out and talking some local football with me, and going through basically this whole hour, getting this football stuff in, making me where I'm not talking to myself for 2 hours. So I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, it's better than talking to a brick wall, huh?
That's what I'm about to do until Kenzie gets here, and then I'll talk to her. Then when she leaves, then that's what I got.
You'll be talking to a brick wall for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and then come down and talk to Cody.
Talk to another brick wall.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
And Trevin.
this slate's pretty big, so we'll be busy down there for sure.
Yeah.
But all right, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thank you.
And making it work.
Randy.
No problem. All right, thanks, Don. That is Donn Walden, the sports editor for the Lewiston Tribune. As I move around and get him off the thing, there we go. Then it's just me. Hi guys. Let's go ahead and bring up the MLB slate, and I will give you your updated scoreboard. Again, it's a walk party for Aaron Judge in that game, but they are defeating the Toronto Blue Jays 5-2. That one's in the 9th inning. Yankees win that game. They clinched the AL East, and then it'll be really interesting to see what they do with their lineup and their bullpen once they're basically locked into that 2 seed. Rays and Guardians right now tied at 4 in the top of the 10th inning. Braves just ended up winning their game against the Nationals 8-2. No wonder Denny has been quiet. They jumped out and came back to tie it up 8-8, and then gave up 5 runs. There's the sad face from Denny Grubb. I see it. Boston beating the Orioles 13-8 in the bottom of the 5th inning right now. Marlins over the Mets 6-3 in the 8th inning. Cubs over the Phillies 2-1 in the 9th. Twins over the White Sox 4-0 in the 8th inning. Cardinals over the Brewers 6-1 in the 6th. Astros over the Diamondbacks 3-1 in the 5th. The Astros are extremely close right now to locking up that top seed in the American League. And early on right now, Athletics and Angels are scoreless in the 2nd. Dodgers and Padres are halfway through the 1st and scoreless. And the Rangers and the Mariners underway, bottom of the 1st inning with no score there as well. Rockies got a run in the top of the 1st inning. That's where they sit right now. And final so far, Tigers beating the Royals 4-3, and Pirates beating the Reds 4-1. You are watching and or listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on the R&R Sports Report Facebook and YouTube pages, as well as KLCZ.com. Thanks you so much for hanging out with us. This is episode 101, and we're still ironing out the MMA training session. We are getting close. We are still waiting for full okay from Austin as far as time goes, but we do believe that a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, October 5th, is going to be when we go down and do our MMA training. We've gotten thumbs up from a couple of the guys, but still waiting for the set time from Austin to make sure all of that will work out for him. So we will keep you up to date, and then we will see how that all goes. I have no idea. So ice. I'm going to need ice, Haley. A lot of ice in October. We'll go ahead and look at some of the local area action as we wait for Kenzie to show up, as the volleyball team got a couple of wins over the weekend. They are now 9-5 overall, 5-4 in the conference. They defeated Multnomah in 5 sets on Friday, and then Warner Pacific in 4 sets on Saturday. They did lead both of those matches 2-0, and it's kind of been their theme lately of getting, dominating early on and then struggling to close out teams, but they were able to get a couple of wins there. The big note was on Saturday as Kenzie Dean set a Warrior record with 38 digs in a 4-set match. She was a Cascade Conference Defender of the Week for that performance, and she was actually only 3 behind the all-time Warrior record, no matter how long the match went. And she is now 9th all-time in digs in LCSC history with 1,072. I believe she's 150 out of 8. I believe that was the mark that I put. Friday, they are back home. They'll be on a little 5-match homestand starting Friday night against Bushnell at 7 p.m. Bushnell, very good team, received votes in the last poll. And then they take on Corbin Saturday at 5 p.m. Corbin, a top 10 team in the country. Make sure you come out to that game, as the first 150 fans will receive a pink rally towel for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So come root out your Warrior volleyball team. I'll be there calling the play-by-play for both of those games right here on klcz.com or the Warrior Sports Network, which you can go to at lcwarriors.com. And also for the golf team, the men and women just got done playing at the Multnomah Invitational, and both teams were able to finish second in those contests. So congratulations to them as Kenzie comes in here, and we'll get her set up. Make sure I change your name so you're not Donn Walden. We don't need that. There we go. All right. So Kenzie, we'll get you set up here. Turn that on, get you added to the stream. Thank you so much for coming in on a little short notice.
Thank you for letting me. This is awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Make sure that microphone's not the best, so you want to talk right into it a little bit. If you want to hear yourself a little
Maybe
bit
I'll
more.
make it official.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
So how you been?
I've been great.
Yeah?
You?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Mhm.
All right, we'll fix something
tell
real
me.
quick. Have you turn it. Don't have it all weird.
Okay,
There we go.
perfect.
Moving things on the fly. This is what happens when Robert Hagan leaves me alone. So, the season so far
Yes,
Kinda
we're
been
almost halfway through.
it's insane
crazy,
how
yeah.
fast it's going.
Flying by, yes.
But kind of been an up and down year. Started out pretty strong.
Yes. in
Had
Clarkston.
a little bit of a struggling homestand against
Mm.
the conference is
It's a tough
insane
conference,
right now.
yeah. We really never have like a weekend off of teams that just aren't competitive. So, which is fun as
Yeah.
well. Like we're pushed every single week.
Mhm.
So it's been awesome.
It seems like every single time we do this show, we're like, all right, volleyball is playing this ranked team and this ranked team.
Or
and,
receiving votes, or yeah,
Right.
our conference is awesome. So
and you guys had to have been close to receiving votes. We kept waiting for that time to happen.
yeah, I'm honestly not sure, but we're definitely competing with the top
Mhm.
teams, which is super exciting. And I think that's what we try to do every single week.
Yeah, I think a
So-
couple of those homestand matches, if they went the other way, a couple
Yeah.
tough 5-set losses and
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
turned around. But let's talk about this weekend real quick.
Okay.
I just talked about that as you do defeat Multnomah in
Mhm.
5 sets and Warner Pacific in
Yes.
4. I had mentioned that both of those matches you were up 2-0, kind of let it slip
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes.
We did see that at home a little bit. So what
Mhm.
is that mindset of jumping out so early, being 1 set away from winning it, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you're in a 5th set barn burner?
Yeah, we definitely have been talking about that coming out in the 3rd set with a stronger mindset of
Mhm.
just finishing the game. Like I said, every team in our conference is very strong.
Mhm.
And so you really can't start a match with the wrong mindset, and you kind of have to always be in the mode. So we're definitely working on that at practice, trying to be consistent and finish out games the best we can. So yes, we've been working on it.
So kind of walk us through a little bit of how practices work, because I've been able to watch you guys through all the home games
Mhm.
the last 2 years, and we always notice about how loose you guys feel,
Yes.
like especially warming up, and you guys are very much a family together, and
Yes.
you like to
Yeah.
have fun.
Yes, it's very
And we
fun.
always Robert and I joke about it every single week about just we've never seen a team in any sport just act the way that you guys do, or
It is
really any of
fun.
the volleyball teams
Yes.
that come in, because
Right.
music starts playing and it
Mhm.
becomes a dance competition instead of
Yes.
volleyball match.
Yes.
But you kind of go through a little bit of a rough stretch. Does that change the way practices are, or is it's still kind of loose
Yeah.
but serious?
Yeah, I would say for sure what you're saying is like we definitely play the best when we're loose and having fun. When things get too serious and that kind of thing, we definitely don't play loose. We play tight and it's not as fun. So we definitely try to keep that mindset, but practice is definitely very competitive. Our coaches this year pushed us to very much compete with each other, and in each position we're very deep and we have very talented players. So yeah, definitely competitive practices. I would say they start more slow, individualized, more specific to our positions, and then towards the end it's very competitive.
And it has to be very competitive in those practices. Is very senior heavy.
Yes.
This year, a lot of ladies that were here last year, and then some of your transfers that have come in have started playing huge roles.
Very big roles. Yes.
I would say you're a very deep team, but the injury bug has kind of
I know. Sadly, I
hampered that a little bit.
Yes, it's been tough for the past. I don't even know, a few weeks. I would say. But luckily, like we said, there's girls that have been stepping up, and it's been awesome. And to play with everybody has been great. But yes, we are very senior heavy and people who are very experienced. So
yeah. Speaking of somebody stepping up, I just talked about her in the little recap. But Kenzie Dean.
Yeah.
Coming
crazy.
Up huge
she went off this weekend. It was
in
awesome.
That one. Did you guys have any idea that the numbers were getting that high?
Honestly, no. I had no idea. I don't know if she knew or if coach knew, but at the end we were walking out to the fans and he was like, "Hey, congrats on 38 digs." And we were like, "What the heck?" But no, awesome. Yeah, she's huge for us in the back row, a leader on and off the court. So I was very happy for her.
All right, so I gotta ask, because I am the play-by-play guy for volleyball.
Yes.
I still know nothing
Which is
about the sport, so I'm having a blast.
It's fun.
It.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. But explain what is and what is not a dig.
Okay, a dig is like when they hit the ball, like if they pass it over like with two hands, like it's kind of like a free ball, and that's not considered a dig. But anything tipping or attacking our way is a dig. So even if the setter dumps or somebody roll shots or tips or even just a swing, that's a dig.
I've been many times, right? I'll call something a dig and then it won't pop up on my my
I hope
screen
that was a
of it
good
being
explanation.
Yeah, it's just
if the ball's up and it's not just like sent over,
right,
then it's kind
there
of
you
a
go.
dig. Yeah,
Also, I gotta know, and we talked to a couple of the players about it throughout the last 2 seasons. Do you guys have learning how to fall practice?
Learning how to fall practice?
Yes, because especially you or Kenzie.
Oh, like diving?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I was like,
diving
what?
Without killing yourself?
Yeah. We definitely, it's the worst actually, practicing diving. It's better when you're playing because it's like a natural movement, but practicing it without a ball, it always hurts way more. But yes, we definitely do practice that. It doesn't hurt as bad as it probably looks.
Yeah, you guys make it look effortless.
There's
and then
honestly
you just bounce right
times.
back.
Yeah, only a few times that it really does, but other than that, it's pretty good.
And then the other thing that I've noticed, especially in your position, that we talked to Cass a couple weeks ago about her situation up closer to the net and about when to block and when you want to go for the attack and all the communication going into it. You being on the back line, there have been so many times you have a split second to decide to go for a ball or not.
Yes.
What kind of goes through your mind as something gets ready to be hit your way on? Right. If it's this high, I have to let it go. And if it's not, it's like, it just blows my mind every time that you guys, for the most part, make the right decision every time.
For the most part. Yeah. It's definitely a reaction sport. So like being stopped and reading the play, especially like the other hitters on the other side, definitely helps you. But being in the right spot, sometimes when you're like in a rally or going, like the play goes on, you kind of like get lost in the court, but being disciplined and being in your spot, you definitely can tell when things are in or out. But yeah, just playing for a long time, you kind of know. But yes, you definitely sometimes don't have a lot of time to think and you just have to go. But yeah.
So you guys have kind of played within like big crowds. We've had a couple really good
we have
student sections this year.
Good, yes.
Last year it was very hit or miss, and the way things were kind of set up anyways, the student section was in a different spot. Now with COVID
I really like the
changing
setup
where
this year. It's been
they've
cool.
moved it, but obviously with you guys playing as loose as you do you guys notice that a ton?
Honestly, I think I notice like the volume of things, but I don't notice like what people are saying by no means. Especially like when you're off the court, you can tell what people are saying, but when you're on, you can really just hear the noise. Volume. Yeah, I would say the volume and like the energy definitely brings up, but no, our student section's been great, especially like when the basketball boys and the baseball boys come out, and even just the students. It's been very, very fun to play for a home crowd.
I've noticed that Fridays have been a lot stronger than Saturdays. So show up on Saturday. They play there.
Yes,
as well.
Show up on Saturday this week. It's awesome. It's our breast cancer awareness game, and we're handing out cute pink towels, so that'll be awesome. But yeah, to have as many people out as we can would just be great.
Yeah, especially against Corbin, top 10 team in the country.
A great team, a very, very strong team every single year. So it'll be very fun.
Talk about you a little bit. So you're a senior here.
Yes.
Sports marketing. Is there plans for the future, or what kind of direction you want to go in yet? Or are you still kind of
deciding? I think working in sports would be awesome. I mean, I've been around sports my whole life, so I think just continuing that would just be great. Probably working for a team, depending on what that is. But yeah, not quite sure. But I'm just excited to get a degree and see where it takes me.
To get that assignment turned in?
Yeah, I did actually. All A's right now. So
I got that turned in right before we started the show.
Exactly.
Before I got myself locked out for 10 minutes. It was great. So you played at Bingham High School down there in South Jordan, Utah,
South Jordan,
right?
Utah. Yes.
You played with Lisi Longy, who is now part of the team.
Yes.
And then you went to Laramie County Community College for 2 years, where you played with Cassidy Nelson.
Yes.
And then somehow talked both of them
in. I
to
know.
come in there. So what is it about your personality that just draws these players in?
I don't know. Coach should really give me a raise or something. I'm like kind of a recruiter. Yeah.
I think you brought in more players than Coach has.
I know. He should give me a high five or something.
Or maybe that's just the role that you need to go into.
Yeah, maybe.
You just need to be a recruiter.
Maybe that's where I should go. Yeah. No, but honestly, it's been great. I grew up with Lisi, so I've known her since I was a little girl. Like my dad coached all of her brothers in football, so I've known her since I was little. So starting, kind of it's cheesy as it sounds, starting my career with her and then ending my career with her has been the biggest blessing ever. And then Cass is one of my best friends ever, so I just feel very lucky to have two of my best friends.
Yeah, we made fun of Cass a couple weeks ago about you guys just being completely connected.
Yeah. At
even in class.
Yes. Yes, seriously.
The only time you're not is when she's playing and you're not.
I know.
It's really cool that you guys are basically the two.
We're
subs
each
for
other's
each
half.
Yeah.
I know.
It works out.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
So 111 digs this season so far. I want to bring up the one fun stat, and I was there for it to happen. You have one kill this year.
Oh, my little free ball to the corner.
Your free ball.
Yeah.
I put in here. I just want to know, was that intentional?
Oh, absolutely. It was. I mean, did I expect to get a kill? By no means. Not on a free ball, but I definitely tried to put it in the corner.
Yeah.
Make it harder for them. And I was just as shocked. Is that my only kill for the season?
That's your only kill of the season.
It probably will be my only kill for the season, but you never know.
And then you did have 10 digs on Saturday, so you did steal some from Kenzie.
Some from Kenny.
So.
I mean, I gave her. I didn't give her anything.
She had a few.
I was like, Kenny, you just go off. But no, she did great this weekend.
So I know that you do a lot of research on these teams that you get ready to play. What have you seen so far from Bushnell or Corbin from your tapes? And what are the things that you kind of look for when you look at your tape?
On film, film-wise, I'll just start with Bushnell. They're just a great team. Very scrappy, very consistent. If we want to compete with them and win that game, we have to show up and completely earn it. They will not give anything to us. And Corbin's always just a powerhouse, just big hitters, great defense. But in film-wise, we just see their hitters, see their tendencies, find ways that we can be successful against them. But ultimately against teams like that, it's all just on our side and controlling our game and putting out our best game, I would say, is what's going to make us most successful.
So what is it that you look for in those tapes? Are you looking for tendencies?
Yeah, like what the hitter does mostly, or who they set most often, or if their setter attacks, or kind of where we can score, or what will put us in the best position. Like their best people, how can we slow them down? I would say is what we look for.
Again, it was volleyball was not a sport that I watched a lot until last year.
It's okay.
And I am having a blast.
Oh, I love
learning.
Yeah.
I know. We were supposed to have Ashley on, and then she ended up having other engagements. But I wanted to ask her because she has a little fan base.
Yes.
On the other side, and I feel bad because I've known their mom for years.
Yes.
So they come, we bowl in the same bowling league
That's
on Sundays.
Awesome. That's
so
actually awesome.
She came in and I was teasing her. I was like, I brought you up on the radio, and she turned all red and stuff. But what is it like for you guys? Because obviously you guys throw out the little volleyballs and stuff.
It's so cute.
Do you guys interact with the younger generation outside of the games, or what do you guys do?
I think the biggest way that we connect with them is through our camps. And it's been very fun. I mean, we do that preseason wise. So all the little girls come to our camps, and then we get to coach them and spend a week with them. And then it's so fun to see them at our games and know their names, and they know our names. And even after signing autographs and stuff, it makes you feel very good, but they're adorable. So it's so fun.
Robert Hagen's over here messaging in the chat. Why don't you just come here when you were done with your football game? Why don't you go home? Jerk.
But yeah, no.
He was
they're
all
awesome.
excited that you're in the house, and I was like, that was kind of
He
the
should have
reason why
came.
we had an. Well, yeah.
right.
I don't think he knew that you were coming because we were still working
Surprise.
out who
right,
that was. But
right. Yeah.
I think he'll be there Saturday. I don't know his schedule. I
Hopefully.
try.
Yes,
Try
it's
not
so
to.
fun to see you guys in the stands. It's the best.
We have fun.
Yeah,
It's just,
I'm glad you guys do.
so we always end these interviews with the really hard hitting questions.
Oh no.
And I hopefully Cass didn't spoil any of these on you. But we had
She didn't tell me
he's on the
anything.
bus right now. So okay, I gotcha. But we always hit the hard hitting questions
Okay.
to end these interviews. We have a lot of fun with it. But
Okay.
start with the quick questions real quick. Just
Okay.
what's your favorite board game?
Favorite board game. I was gonna say Monopoly. It's definitely not Monopoly.
No.
I would say Uno. Probably.
Uno's better.
Yeah.
I like Monopoly as well, but
That was like the first thing that came to mind, and that was so not right.
no.
No,
It was just the first
I was
board
like,
game that came into your
yeah,
head.
and it's not that. So I'll be real. Probably Uno.
All right. What's one of your nicknames?
People call me Cloward, and recently people have been calling me Chowder.
Oh,
So
yeah?
that's a new one. I don't know why
You
I
don't
said
want
that
that
on the
one?
radio because I
So now
don't
it's
want
locked
people.
in.
Yeah.
So now I have to say
But-
it during play-by-play
but
on
yeah.
Friday. So we're
A
locked
lot of the
in.
boys have been calling me Chowder lately. So
There you go.
yeah.
What is your go-to lazy dinner?
Go to lazy dinner. How about some mac and cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Craft.
Now this one might get cut from the thing because it hasn't worked
Okay.
out for us so far. But what word do you have the hardest time pronouncing?
What word do I have the hardest time pronouncing? That's a great question. What's a word you have a hard time pronouncing? Let's
All
see
of
if I
them.
can pronounce them.
All of them.
I don't know. I can't think of one.
By the way, Robert Hagan is now locked in on your new nickname. So
No.
so
I don't know why
you
I
have
said
one
that.
kill on the year. If you have a second one and Robert Hagan's the
Can
PA,
you yell Chowder?
He will.
Okay.
No, he's your PA guy. So just so you know,
I don't know
Chowder
why I
with the
said that
kill
out
is gonna
loud.
happen.
I've been like trying to like simmer that
Trying to
down,
make it
and then
not
I
work?
say it on the
No,
radio.
now it's locked in.
It's locked in. It's fine. But yeah, I would say.
But I got
Chowder.
no.
can't think of a word right
See, I need to
now.
get rid of that question. That
It's
hasn't
really
worked out so
hard.
far.
Yeah.
I think I know this one just from some of the chats we've had in class. But favorite
Okay.
sports team.
The Yankees.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you're my favorite volleyball player.
Yeah.
Because Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
How many home runs is the Judge gonna hit?
Didn't he hit like how many does he have right now?
He has 60.
60.
And he's
I don't
been
know.
walked
That's my guy.
87 times. since
I
then.
just ordered a Judge jersey
There you go.
for my birthday.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give him like, how about let's go 75.
I wish.
It could happen.
He needs to go. He needs to see any pitches right now. I'm open for 62. Let's just
Well,
get to that.
I'm just
point.
more of like half glass full girl,
Oh.
so I'll go 75.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, I'm so mad you were talking in that class. You and Cass had went to Yankee Stadium
Yes,
over. What is it?
So
This
fun.
summer?
I
that
went
you
last summer,
Last
and it
summer.
was awesome. It was
Yeah.
my first time being to New
Jealous.
York. It was a great trip. Yes.
Have not been going to Lambeau Field
You
in a
should
couple
go.
weeks, but Yankee
should go.
Stadium is up there
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
It was awesome.
We'll take Cass and Lisi out.
Okay,
Who's your favorite teammate to play with?
Jada.
Why Jada?
She's the best on and off the court.
Mhm.
She's just a great presence.
Mhm.
And truly, I mean, we played against her at JUCO and then playing with her. She really has become one of my greatest friends. So love her.
So
Absolutely.
Robert Hagan is just blowing up the chat because he's still on the bus.
Mhm.
Saying you have a Boston accent.
I have a Boston accent. Really?
I think he just put Boston accent in the chat. I don't know if it's because you
Maybe
have to say.
is it because we're talking about Yankees?
Yeah, well, I think we were talking about chowder
Oh,
and chowder, and you have to say it with a Boston accent. Maybe that's what he
Chowder.
means.
how do you talk?
I don't know. I'm anti-Boston as a
Yeah,
Yankee fan. So
same. Ugh.
all right, we'll end this up with word association. I'll just say
Okay.
say a name. Give me the first thing that pops in your head.
Oh, so you're gonna give me a name?
I'm going to give you a name, and you just first thing that pops your head, and even if it's wrong, like Monopoly was,
Okay, just say it.
Cassidy Nelson,
Fun,
Lisi Longy,
electric,
Jenna Carpenter,
spaz. It's accurate. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
yeah,
she's the best.
Ashley Bachman,
Dedicated.
Carly Burnson,
Oh, that one's hard. Block party.
Block Party.
Yeah, she's just a monster block.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got you.
Mhm.
Coach Sean Paulman.
Reliable.
Yeah. And we do it to everybody, so don't feel too much pressure. But Kenzie Cloward.
Goofy. How about that?
It works.
Yep.
Kenzie, I very much appreciate again.
Thank
I
you
know
for
it was
letting
kind
me.
of a short
Mhm.
notice as things kind of got
Yeah.
changed, but we've been wanting you on here for any
No,
time.
I feel honored.
And
Thank
when
you
Robert
so much.
comes back, we'll have to have you back on.
Yes, no, thank you. This is awesome.
All right, that's Kenzie Cloward. Go
Perfect.
check her out Friday night at 7 p.m.
Yes.
and Saturday at 5 p.m. as the
Yes.
Warrior volleyball team takes on
Perfect.
some really, really tough
Yes, some
competition.
good competition this
Yeah.
weekend. I'm
All
excited.
right, Kenzie, I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no
This
problem.
is awesome.
All right, take care. That was Kenzie Cloward. That was a lot of fun. Robert Hagen's still just blowing up chat. He said he's going to do the Boston accent when he calls your name on there. So be prepared on Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Always a lot of fun to get any of the volleyball team on is anybody that's been out there watching any of their games. That they are just fun on and off the court. They like to have a good time, and they are very loose when they play. And you can kind of tell that as we had that interview with her. Let's get back into the baseball as we'll go back through the scoreboard just real quick. As my New York Yankees have clinched the AL East. They defeat the Blue Jays 5-2. Judge walked 74 times in that game. I believe he finished 0-1, but the Yankees have now locked up the division, which is basically means they have locked up the 2 seed in the division because they're not catching Houston. Cleveland's not catching them, so it's kind of locked in there. Speaking of Cleveland, they are tied with the Rays at 4 in the top of the 11th inning. That has a lot of playoff implications with the Rays in it. Red Sox trying to hurt the Orioles' chances of making the postseason. Boston leads at 13-8 in the 7th. Marlins over the Mets 6-4 going into the bottom of the 9th inning. Mets trying to keep that 1-game lead over the Braves, and the Braves beat the Nationals 8-2 earlier on in the day. Twins up over the White Sox 4-0 in the 9th. Cardinals over the Brewers as they look to try to close out the NL Central. They're up 6-2 in the 8th inning. Astros over the Diamondbacks 4-1 in the 6th. Athletics over the Angels now 3-0 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Padres up over the Dodgers, who are just kind of playing through the last couple weeks here, but that is a 2-0 game in the bottom of the 2nd. Rangers 1-0 over the Mariners in the 3rd. So if Baltimore can somehow come back, that could be a big game. And the Giants up over the Rockies 2-1. That one going to the bottom of the 2nd again. Finals so far, Pirates beat the Reds 4-1. Tigers beat the Royals 4-3. Braves beat the Nationals, as I said, 8-2. Cubs beat the Phillies 2-1. And it is now a final. The Twins beat the White Sox 4-0. The big news of the week, Albert Pujols hit 2 home runs in 2 innings on Friday to get to number 700. It was absolutely a very cool moment to see. Didn't quite have the fanfare, I think, that a lot of people were expecting. But to me, that is just for the fact that, he did it so fast. We didn't have that chance of going, all right, Albert's 1 away, and when is he going to get the 700? Because he did it in back-to-back at bats. And for me, one of the greatest home run hitters of all time, obviously, as he is now 4th on that list, the 4th person ever to reach that 700 milestone. But he just seems like one of the coolest guys out there, where even when he passed A-Rod and the players were trying to give him the baseball, and he's like, nah, it's cooler for you to have it than for me. It's just, he seems so down to earth, and it's very cool for him to reach that milestone before he calls it a career at the end of the season. Part of me was kind of hoping that he would not hit it or reach that mark by the end of the season, just to selfishly have him come back for one more year, or at least, the first month of next year to try to reach it. But no, still a very, very cool moment. He does it in LA. Kind of wish he would have done it in St. Louis just for that crowd reaction, but LA definitely gave him a good ovation there. On Friday, Aaron Judge now has gone over a week without hitting a home run. The last time he hit a home run, we were live on the air when he hit number 60. Still waiting for that next one, and I know a lot of people are starting to say, oh, now he's not going to get there. They got a pitch. I mean, Boston pitched to him, and I give the Red Sox full credit, but Toronto has definitely been dodging him as they're trying to lock up a playoff spot. It'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the year, as he has one more game with Toronto, then a 3-game set with Baltimore. We'll see if the Orioles if they wouldn't walk him. Absolutely. Haley gets it. They just need to stop walking him. But We'll see if Baltimore is still in the playoff hunt. Come this weekend, that'll be the final homestand for the Yankees. It would be really, really cool if he did it at Yankee Stadium, but I would like him also to hit a home run tomorrow, please, just to get him to 61 at least. But I am, like I told Donn in the first hour, I am not worried about Aaron Judge passing Roger Maris until we get to Texas. You get to Texas, you're playing 4 games on the road in 3 days, the 2 seeds locked up. So you definitely know that Judge is not going to be playing in both games of the doubleheader on Tuesday. And then whether they want to give him a day off or not. Because, yes, the home run record is very cool, but you would definitely want to give Judge a couple days off and let him rest up. Obviously, the Yankees will be the 2 seed. They'll get a bye. So they'll have some days off while the wild card round goes on. And I'm very curious. I'm still very curious to see how that works for Major League Baseball, having those extra 3 days off while the wild card teams battle it out, and if it will help or hurt some of these top seeds. Because, yes, having the rest is fantastic. But baseball is all about being in a rhythm. And you have those days off, and you're going to mess up that rhythm. And I think that's going on with Judge right now. He is the pomp and circumstances around every single at bat is so crazy. I don't think Judge has really been able to get into that rhythm he's normally in. And the Yankees have moved him up to the top spot in that lineup. So that kind of changes the way he preps to get into games. Unfortunately, yes, you're getting him more at bats being the leadoff guy, but you're having the worst batters come up before him. So they're not getting on, and they're not giving him protection. So that's why they're walking him all the time. So it'll be interesting. I still think Judge is going to break the record. I don't think Kenzie's call of 75 is going to happen. But I definitely hope that he can pass at least 62. Yeah, I mean, Maris did have a lot of pressure as well, as Denny says. Maris's was a little bit more interesting, though. I mean, obviously, I was not alive in 1961. But I have watched the movie 61. I think that's as close as I can get to that kind of stuff. And nobody wanted Maris to break Root's record. I think his pressure was because people didn't want to see him do that. I think they wanted Mickey Mantle to do it. So he was kind of the bad guy in that whole situation. So a little different pressure for Judge as everyone is rooting for him to do it. But we'll see what he's able to do over the next week or so. And hopefully when we come back next week, we'll be able to talk about that cool record that he has set. More slightly Yankee news is Donn Mattingly, former Yankee and my favorite player of all time, will not come back to the Marlins to coach next season. He started his head coaching career with the Dodgers, wasn't able to get over that hump and get to the World Series, has really struggled with the Marlins to really rebuild things down there. So he is going to move on. And as a Yankee fan, I just have to say, Aaron Boone, goodbye. I would rather have Donn Mattingly as my head coach, even though he has not been successful so far. He just deserves to be in pinstripes, and I am just over Aaron Boone and his over management of the bullpen. And some of the decisions he makes always just drives me absolutely insane. And the last news item, it was a really fun video. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. It happened over the weekend. Seattle Mariner Robbie Ray and Kansas City Royal Luke Weaver had that famous national anthem standoff that seems to be the thing in baseball over the last couple of years. Doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough, especially late in the year where players, they've played 150 some games now, and you're kind of playing through the stretch. Kansas City's not playing for anything. Kansas City's trying to stay loose because they're really struggling right now. So Robbie Ray and Luke Weaver stand out there for the national anthem with their teammates. Teammates go back into the dugout, get ready for the game, and those two have a little standoff of who is going to move first. We've seen it before. It's always fun. It goes all the way through the first break. The commentators start catching wind of it and put the old split screen up. I believe they put the split screen up in Kansas City as well. So that was really cool to see. But in the end, the umpires just took all the fun out of it and ejected both players, which I believe is the first time that's happened, where two players got ejected for having fun doing the national anthem standoff. But they were warned several times, and neither of them wanted to move. Their former teammates at the Diamondbacks, and they had fun with it. And for those of you that were curious, Robbie Way did end up winning that. Luke Weaver got ejected first. So Robbie Ray won the standoff. You look at your playoff standings coming into the day. Obviously, some stuff has changed. Astros and Guardians had already clinched their divisions coming into this week. Yankees have now clinched the AL East. So all of the division winners are set in the American League. Astros will be the 1 seed. Yankees will be the 2 seed. Guardians are going to be the 3 seed. They will play the lowest ranking wild card team, which right now would be the Seattle Mariners. Blue Jays and Rays are your other 2 wild cards. They would face each other for a chance to play the Astros. And the Orioles were 3.5 back, but are really starting to slip as things are coming down to it. In the National League, Dodgers just dominated their division. Hagan and I have been joking about that for the last 2 months or so, how much they have just blown away their competition. Cardinals, their magic number coming into today was only 3. Obviously, they are playing Milwaukee right now, and if they hold on and win that game, they will just be 1 win away from clinching the NL Central. The good one, though, is the Mets and the Braves. The Braves were just 1 game back coming into today, and it is now 0 as the Braves were able to get the win. Mets suffered the loss, so their series that we will talk about here shortly that is about to come up is going to be absolutely huge, as the winner of that series most likely will win the division and be the 2 seed and get the bye, and the loser of the series will have to play in the wild card series. They will get to host all 3 games, but I think I'd rather have the bye than have to play an extra round. Your wild card right now, obviously the Braves or Mets will be that top wild card team. Padres are the 2nd team. Phillies are a game and a half behind the Padres, and they currently have that last wild card spot with the Brewers a game and a half back. Again, the Brewers are losing today, and the Phillies already lost. So the Brewers had a chance to gain on Philadelphia. Will not do it today. Let's get to our power rankings, and mine do not change at all. Dodgers, Astros, Mets, Braves, Yankees are mine, with the Pirates, Athletics, and Nationals as my bottom 3 teams. For Robert, it's Dodgers, Astros, Mets, Braves, Yankees, same 5 as me in the same order, and his bottom 3 are the exact same as well. Pirates, A's, and Nationals. So things starting to kind of work themselves out. There are players of the week. For Robert, he took Pete Alonso, first baseman for the New York Mets, who's been absolutely phenomenal lately, trying to make a late surge to win the NL MVP, though I do think that is between Goldschmidt and Arenado for the Cardinals right now. Alonso goes 7 of 20, and 5 of his 7 hits for extra base hits. He had 2 doubles and 3 home runs. He had 10 RBIs for the Mets. Now I'm going to go with the rookie Steve Kwan, outfielder for the Guardians, who just locked up the AL Central last week. 12 of 28, 429 batting average, 8 runs, 9 RBIs, had 4 stolen bases. His rookie year, he did play for Oregon State back in college, so that is my player of the week. Look at the series to watch, and the big one, I think, is a no-brainer. Mets at Braves. 3-game set starting on Friday. Again, whoever wins that series, very good chance will win that division. And for Robert, he's still throwing it over there to you, Denny, as he is going to take the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros. That's a 3-game set. Tough 3 games for the Rays, as Robert notes that Baltimore are going to be huge Houston fans in that series. But again, they are a bit farther back from Tampa Bay. So we will see if that still matters at that point. Obviously, Baltimore has to take on the Yankees, who have now locked up basically that 2 seed. So we'll see what kind of weird lineups and pitching rotations the Yankees throw at Baltimore over that weekend. It'll be pretty interesting. All right, let's get to the pick'em. We'll go through these pick'ems here, as Robert did give me his. And spoilers on the high school side, we picked exactly the same for all 10 games, which is not fun and kind of boring. As Denny does say, Orioles are sliding away. They have definitely outperformed what we thought they were going to do. But it does look like they will fall just a little bit short. We look at last week real quick for our pick'ems, and Robert did gain a little bit of ground for me. My picks in the NFL were horrible. Just absolutely horrible. But luckily, that doesn't go for these pick'ems. But I went 9-7 in our pick'ems here, 5-5 in high school, 4-2 in college. So I'm 47-21, still very, very good on the year. Hagan went 11-5 last week, went 6-4 in high school, 5-1 in college. So he is up to 40-28. I still have a 7-game lead, but he did cut into it a little bit. And like I said, while we have the high school picks exactly the same, we did pick a lot in college different. So that'll be the key. But let's get into our games here. And our predictions is the big one that was going to be Thursday night got pushed back to Friday night. Kamei at Prairie. This one is going to possibly decide who's going to win that D1 White Pine League division. We did hear about the injury concerns going on with Prairie right now, but I am still going to go with the Pirates. They won last year 60-20. Kamei has not beat Prairie since 2012. I do like the Cubs and what they have been doing this year, and they've taken some great strides forward, but Prairie showed in that second half last week that they are a very, very difficult team to beat. So Robert and I will both take the Pirates there. Lewiston at Moscow, and I feel bad for Rob Baffis and the Moscow Bears. They just have not kind of had that first season under his belt like he was hoping. Nothing is really working for them right now. And they're going to play a Lewiston Bengals team who have been red hot. Fantastic running game, as Don Walden was talking about earlier. The passing game continues to improve. I don't think this one's going to be very close. Give me the Lewiston Bengals, and Robert agrees as well. North Central at Clarkston, another game that I feel is going to be a complete blowout. I don't know if Robert agrees that it's going to be a blowout, but he does, of course, agree that the Bantams are going to win. North Central has played 3 games this year. North Central has 0 points on the season. It just has not gone well for them up in the Spokane area. We'll see if the Bantams can reverse the shutout, as they were shut out this past weekend, and they look to bounce back and get a win. I do think that Clarkston will come away with a W. Clearwater Valley at Genesee, both teams looking to bounce back from losses last week. And it's going to be an interesting one. And I do think that the Rams, who have won 4 of the last 5 meetings, will come away with a victory on the road. But I like what I saw from Genesee there in that first half against Prairie. So I think they can make it a contest, but I'm going to take Clearwater Valley, and Robert will as well. Colfax got their first win of the season last week. They take on Lakeside, who, again, Walden was talking about in the first hour of how good they have been. They are 4-0 on the year. Colfax starting to improve, but I'm definitely not taking Colfax to beat Lakeside on the road. Robert agrees with me again there. And then the interesting one, Touchy at Pomeroy. Pomeroy just won a game 86-0, and I am worried that it could be worse in this game. The last time these two teams met, Pomeroy won that one 104-12 or something. They put up 104 points. That's what I remember. They gave up some points, but they scored in triple digits, and they could do it again this week. Obviously, they have showed that their defense is really, really stout, holding Yakima Tribal to negative yardage in that game last week. So Robert and I will take Pomeroy there. Grangeville at Orfino. Orfino has scored more points than North Central this year, but they're only averaging 3 points a game. So Robert and I will take Grangeville. Lapway at Troy. I think this one could be an interesting game. Both are struggling this year. Lapway is dealing with all sorts of injuries. Troy is kind of having a down year from what we have seen from them before, but I'm going to take the Trojans just because Lapway is struggling with those injuries right now. I think it's going to be tough for them to come back. Potlatch at Logos. Another interesting game, as Potlatch has yet to score less than 50 points on the year. One of the best offenses we have seen in like just a ridiculous offensive season here in our local area. Potlatch has averaged 62.5 points per game. I don't see Logos slowing them down, even though they just had a wild win last week. Again, if you had missed it, Jack Driscoll, 9 touchdowns in that win against Lapway, where he was responsible for every offensive yard that the Knights had in that game. I don't see him outperforming Potlatch, though. But if you can find a stream of that game, or you can get over there to Logos, which is up in Moscow, that will be a really fun game. And the final high school game, Asotin versus Chewelah. Chewelah is a very, very good team over there in Washington. Asotin has been struggling, so Robert and I will both take Chewelah. So let's get to the college games. California at Washington State. Does Washington State bounce back from the couging that they performed against Oregon last week? Yes. They will get the W against the Bears. Robert and I both take the Cougars. Northern Colorado at Idaho. Again, I made fun of Hagen. I don't know if he's still listening while he's on the bus, or if he's making sure all of the players get transported safely. But he put Northern Idaho as his pick at first. But he will take Northern Colorado as his pick. I'm going to disagree. I like what I've seen from the Vandals through 4 games. Played really tough against Washington State. Played really tough against Indiana. And now back-to-back wins. Make it 3 in a row for the Vandals. Then you get to some of the bigger games in college football. Number 7, Kentucky takes on number 14, number 14, Ole Miss. Robert and I both take Ole Miss in that one. Number 9, Oklahoma State takes on number 16, Baylor. We switch here as Robert's going to take Baylor, and I am going to go ahead and take Oklahoma State. I like what I have seen from the Cowboys, not the Dallas Cowboys. This is the good Cowboy team. And number 10, North Carolina State, who's kind of been surprising some people lately, take on number 5, Clemson, who just survived a scare in double overtime. Robert and I both agree that the Tigers will bounce back. They will beat the Wolfpack this week. And then on Friday, this could be a really fun one. Number 15, Washington at UCLA. Both teams off to pretty hot starts. UCLA has not really played anybody yet, but they're at home. It's the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 is allergic to playoff teams, and they just eat each other up. So I'm going to take the Bruins with the upset at home, while Robert will take Washington, the number 15 seed, to stay undefeated. So those are our picks for this week. And now let's get into some sports that do not get enough airtime. And let's talk about Aussie rules football. Grand final was this weekend, and I was looking forward to covering the high school football slate and sitting down while I waited for Donn to put the paper together and watch the second half of this game. And that was not the case, as Geelong made it a no contest after just a couple minutes. It was a straight blowout. Geelong beat Sydney 133-52. And I don't even feel like it was that close. So Geelong ends their season on a 16-game win streak. They scored 6 goals in the opening quarter. It's the most goals ever scored in a grand final in the opening quarter. The Cats ended up with 20 goals overall. It was just a bloodbath. And they never let off the gas all the way to the final siren. They did not care about Sydney's feelings at all. The Cats held the Swans to just 6 points in that first quarter, just 1 point in the third quarter. There's no other way of putting it other than just straight domination. Geelong was the best team throughout the year, so the best team did end up winning the championship. So congratulations to Geelong, even though they're a hated rival of my Hawthorne Hawks, who have been horrible, and I hate to see them win the championship, but they absolutely deserved it. Tyson Stengel had 4 goals and 1 behind in that game. Tom Hawkins, he's been absolutely unbelievable for years, had 3 goals and 4 behinds. Isaac Smith wins the Norm Smith medal for the oldest player. He's the oldest player to win that medal at 33 years old. He had 3 goals, 1 behind, 32 disposals and 23 kicks was absolutely phenomenal. And the game where just that whole team was phenomenal. Buddy Franklin was just held to 1 behind on 5 disposals. We talked last week about him coming back for one more season. Not the way he wanted this year to end for sure. So he'll try to bounce back in his final season next year. Let's get to NASCAR. And if you did not watch this NASCAR race last week, I'm jealous. And I only watched part of this NASCAR race. And I can tell you right now, it's the worst race that I can ever remember. I'm not a fan of Texas Motor Speedway. And listening to some interviews of the race car drivers after this race, they are not a fan of it either, as Kyle Larson had come out saying that he wants it demolished. He went as far as that. It was a mess. This whole race was a mess. The track is bad. The racing was not good. When you did have anywhere near good racing, the tires exploded. The tires just continue to be an issue right now with these new cars. Teams continue to push the envelope with them, but they can't do them in the way that they want, which, pushes the stress on different parts of the tire that are just not made to have that much pressure on them. So they're going like 20 some laps and just blowing up, and you just never know when it's going to happen. Several leaders in this race had tire problems. Kevin Harvick was one. Chase Elliott was another, where you're out there leading the race and all of a sudden a tire takes you not only from the lead, but completely out of competition. We had a fun little thing with Denny Hamlin and William Byron where they got into a disagreement on the track. William Byron just straight dumps Denny Hamlin during the yellow flag. Hamlin tries to get his position back and NASCAR doesn't allow him. That is a complete mess on top of it. Not only do I think Hamlin should have got his place back, I thought Byron should have been penalized for that incident. I know he got penalized after the race. NASCAR coming out and saying that they did not even see the incident was kind of a joke to me. But it just kind of adds to what Texas was. This Texas race was a black eye on NASCAR on a playoff situation that continues to just be laughable, as Tyler Reddick, who was eliminated from the playoffs last week, got the win. So now we've had 4 playoff races, and none of them were won by a person in contention for the championship. Tyler Reddick had a win earlier this year and was a playoff driver, but not at the time that he gets the win. So the whole playoff system is not working with NASCAR's in a weird situation where they wanted competition, and now they have this wide range of competition. So many different drivers are winning. But then the way they do their playoff points, it's just you have to win at certain times instead of building this great season to try to win a championship. So maybe they need to get rid of this playoff format and go back to the old way. But it's going to be difficult to ever do because obviously they want that last race to mean something. They want several of these races to mean something. Obviously the Roval's coming up in a couple of weeks. They want that to mean something because it'll be an elimination race. But the way they're doing things right now is not good. It's not working. And not only is it upsetting a lot of the NASCAR fans that you see online, but they're upsetting the drivers. And I think obviously that is the more important, is you want the people driving in your series to think that it's competitive, to think that it's fair, and to think that it's safe. And I don't think that any of those drivers right now feel that any of those 3 are accurate. Obviously, it's not safe because you have no idea when a tire is just going to straight up explode. I mean, yes, you've had flat tires in NASCAR since the beginning of NASCAR, but it's happening in such a frequent rate and in a situation with the way the cars are built now and the way the tires are set up that if you blow a tire, there's no saving it. You're just going right into the wall. It's not fair. I mean, with the way the playoffs are set up, one win does not equal the same balance as another. And it's just not fun. It's not fun for them at all. And you see the way they react after every single race and how frustrated all of them are. They had rain in this race, which just added to the sloppiness of it. And now they're at Talladega next week. which is a crapshoot in itself. So you have a crapshoot on top of a crapshoot, and that's kind of the way NASCAR likes it, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how things go there. Other racing news, Jimmy Johnson does retire from full-time racing. Obviously, he was a 7-time NASCAR champion, moved over to IndyCar, kind of did a half season last year, ran a full slate this year, had some decent success over there, but is now just going to be racing part-time for the rest of his time, and obviously going to spend some more time with his family and not putting in that whole schedule that racing involves. Move to golf real quick as the President's Cup happened this weekend. I can't say I watched any of it as all the other sports were going on, but the United States won 17.5 to 12.5. It's the 9th straight win for the U.S. team. So congratulations to them as Xander Schauffele hit the tournament's winning putt on 18 is what Robert has on my notes here. Their next tournament is the Sanderson Farms Championship in Jackson, Mississippi. Defending champion there is Sam Burns. So look forward to that as well. And we'll go ahead and one more time look at your Major League Baseball scoreboard before we call it a night here for episode 101. As finals now, the Rays are able to hold on and beat the Guardians in 11 innings, 6-5. Pirates again beat the Reds 4-1. Tigers over the Royals 4-3 in 10 innings. Braves over the Nationals 8-2. Marlins over the Mets 6-4. Cubs over the Phillies 2-1, and the Twins over the White Sox 4-0. The New York Yankees are your AL East champions. They defeat the Toronto Blue Jays 5-2. Orioles are able to get a run in the 7th inning, but they still trail the Red Sox 13-9. That one's in the bottom of the 8th. Cardinals are 3 outs away from beating the Brewers. They're up 6-2 in the bottom of the 9th. Astros have pulled away from the Diamondbacks. They're up 8-1 in the 7th. Athletics and Angels are tied at 3 in the bottom of the 3rd. Padres over the Dodgers 2-0 in the 4th. Rangers are over the Mariners 1-0. That one's also in the bottom of the 4th. And the Giants 2-1 over the Rockies. That one heading to the bottom of the 4th inning. Again, I want to thank everybody that's just been hanging out with us through now 101 episodes. Robert has not been fired. He will be back in 2 weeks. Obviously, he's coaching junior high football. So he will obviously miss this week. He will miss next week as well. I'll see who I get in. We're going to try to get Kenzie Dean, LC volleyball player, on next week. She had prior engagements as well, and talk about her historic night last week. We'll see what the volleyball team is able to do this week. Don't forget, go over to the P1FCU Activity Center this weekend. 7 p.m. on Friday, as they will take on Bushnell. Bushnell, a very, very good team. And then on Saturday, they're going to take on a top 10 team in the country in Corbin. That one at 5 p.m. and get here early, as the first 150 fans will receive a pink rally towel for breast cancer awareness. I know Katie Rose and her daughters will be there to root on, especially Ashley, who that's her little fan base, as she works over at the Lewiston Boys and Girls Club, and has kind of gotten a little fan base in Izzy. So she will be there rooting on the Warriors, and I hope you will as well. Golf will be in action again next week for LC, and then a couple weeks, the LC cross country team will be hosting their meet up there at their course over by the new high school. So we'll try to get on one of the cross country runners on next week to try to promote that event as well. I'd like to thank Donn Walden for coming on, as he gets away from the paper for a little bit to come chat some high school football with me. And now I have to head back down there and get some work done myself. Again, we'd like to thank Kenzie Cloward for coming in on short notice after a late cancellation. She was a lot of fun to have on the show. And I'd like to thank all of you. And don't forget, no official announcement just yet. But it looks like a week from tomorrow, which is October 5th, is when Robert and I hopefully will fulfill our engagement and our commitment to you guys getting us to 600 followers on Facebook. and we will be going to Arnett's Martial Arts America and doing some sort of martial arts training and getting our butts kicked for however long they're going to kick our butts and for however long we can probably stand, which, if you know Robert and I, it's not going to take long for us to be in big trouble over there. But it is because of you guys giving us the support that you have that is possible. So I want to thank you guys for that, even though I might say bad things about you while they're kicking my butt in 8 days. But hopefully that gets all ironed out and we were able to get that done. And then Robert will be here all banged up and bruised that following week, as he will make his return after 2 weeks on October 11th. And then I get to go to Lambeau. Haley and I are going to go watch the Jets get crushed by the Green Bay Packers in week 6. And we'll see if I'm back that following week for that show or not, or if we just are able to have, no travel issues and I can be on the show. If not, I'm sure Robert will have a backup plan and we'll make it all work. But for now, that's going to do it for me. Oh yeah. And eat. We're going to eat lots of cheese. That's for sure. Haley is, I think, maybe more excited for the cheese than Lambeau. I think she won't admit it, but I think that's the case. But that will do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this weirder episode of the R&R Sports Report. I will be back with somebody next week. We'll have a couple guests on as well, and Robert will be back the following week. But for now, my name is Randy Isbelle. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. But for now, I am